Hey there, everyone. It's your girl, Seven. Thank you so much. I'm so glad that you decided to join me for this midweek's motivation. It's been a week. I skipped last week. I felt good about skipping last week because I was able to get some other stuff done. But back this week with midweek motivation, hope on a hump day. And as I was preparing for this week and what I wanted to talk about, because I always try to think about it from whatever's being shown to me in the physical, how does this relate in the natural? And so this week, and I'm going to look at my notes from time to time because I want to make sure I stick to time constraints. That's my disclaimer. However, I was thinking not another storm. We had just survived the winter storms, and here comes spring, roaring like a lion. Even as I'm making this video, there's some growling winds, lots of rain, and there's talk about flooding. So I'm thinking just a few days ago, we was outside having a good time. I think the temps had went up to like over 70, and knowing living in the Midwest and coming out of a hard season, you're just happy to see some warm days, some sunny days, some days you can get out and just have on a light jacket. So, I just started thinking about storms, and I started thinking about them in the natural sense. If you know that storms are going to come, why aren't you prepared? However, after experiencing some storms over and over, why do we find ourselves not knowing what to do? So, I start thinking about certain things. I was thinking back to the school age days when they would have us to do in case of emergency. We'd have to get to, that place of safety, and we'd have to cover. We were asked to be prepared. We were being asked to prepare for emergency. In the case of emergency, we were provided a safe place that we could run to. So, when I started to look at that in the natural, in the physical, the storm versus the natural when we're in storms sometimes, I wanted to know what it really meant. We know that a storm is coming. And that's a physical storm. We know that it won't last long because, I looked it up. Like I did some research, even when they talked about tornadoes, because that season's coming next, they said the average tornado only lasts 10 minutes or less. And so the destruction that it can cause sometimes, it doesn't take long. It's moments, seconds sometimes that, you'll have storms come through and they'll just rip some things apart. So, the idea of spring in itself is very unpredictable. You get lots of floods, in this season, you got to be watered, in order to grow. And most of us don't enjoy a physical flood. Seeing those things that we've planted into in our winter season, it does make us feel good when things begin to bloom. So, I started thinking, how do we prepare? How do we prepare? Because we often seek resolution by, handling this storm, meaning the storm you may be in right now, or storms that you most recently were in. We handle those like we've handled all other storms. But you have to remember, some storms will let you stop, drop, and roll on, move on. It's a quick storm. You can get through it. Maybe it's a backed up bill. Maybe it's just somebody getting on your nerves. Whatever the case may be, it could be a small storm. But sometimes you're dealing with some big storms, storms that's going to require you to stay in for a while because there's some things that need to be pulled out. When you're in a storm, you have to stay ready. You hear about a storm, you got to stay ready because sometimes storms catch us off guard. We just don't see them coming. And remember, like physical storms in our life, they're going to seem like forever, but it really isn't. They talk about the stages of a storm. It develops, it matures, and then it disappears. And that's a lot of times what happens in our life. We have storms that rise up, they develop, they mature. How we handle them is how, sometimes how quickly they disappear or dissipate. So how do we prepare when we have no clue how we're going to face our next storm? Some storms take place when the temperature begin to rise. Things are going great. You're at the top of your A game. You're ready to take over the world, all that good stuff. And then bam, here comes a storm, because during the mature stage of the storm, keep in mind, you're experiencing all kind of emotions, a range of emotions. You might be feeling all kind of ways that you want to execute in the storm, but no worries. These things that you're going through, these emotions that you're experiencing, they're helping you to grow. Remember, storms don't last long. I don't know how many times I got to say that, but they don't last long. They're very quick. And, sometimes we feel like it's going to go on forever, but it's not. And then during the depletion or the dissipation or the disappearance stage of your storm, you're going to begin to feel calm. You're gonna that decrease of being on edge and worrying about what's next all the time. You're gonna learn to relax. You're gonna want to reflect on what you experienced in this storm, how you can get better, the wisdom you gain for yourself, not only for yourself, but for others, and how you endured and you didn't give up. It's a new season of possibilities, And when I think about that, I know that storms are going to be a part of that process. You have to see the good in all that you go through. See the good in all that you're blessed to endure, and never give up. Most of all, stay watchful and seek shelter, when necessary. That means cover yourself, Get around just some good fertilizer. That's what I like to call it. Good fertilizer, good word, good friendships, good connections, good networks. Just get around some good fertilizer so you can grow. And even if you're in a storm, you've got that support. That's your watering, meaning maybe it's not a season where you can pour, but others are pouring into you. So take the help, be encouraged, continue to fight, refuse to give up, Most of the storms you're going through, it's not something that you haven't experienced before. You've been through it before. You know what to do. You've got to trust the Creator and keep it pushing, because all power is in His hands. We really are not in control of any storm that we face. We just have to make sure we seek shelter. And you know what shelter is for you. We've got to get to our grounding place. And we've got to, you pray that whatever we're supposed to get out of this storm, whatever we're supposed to learn out of this storm, we learn it and we move on, So whatever needs to pass, it passes. Whatever needs to grow, it grows. Whatever needs to be shed off, it sheds off. And whatever needs to be watered is watered. That's so that we can, we can't keep praying to be pulled out of the storm before time, so that those things that need to be poured in, watered, or help us to grow don't get a chance to take place. They don't get a chance to take root, because sometimes we just get in our moment and we just want the storm to pass. So cheers to beautiful days ahead. If you're going through a storm, whether physical or natural, be encouraged. Storms don't last forever, and better days do lie ahead. Again, thank you so much for joining me this week. It's been a pleasure. It's hump day. Go out, be great, continue to do amazing things. This has been your girl 7, and as always, I'll see you soon.